In this video, I thought we would go back and revisit the NECA Toys Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, Ultimate Jason Voorhees. Now, if you're curious as to how tall Jason stands, this particular Jason, much like the others, stand at 7.5 inches tall. What can I say? I was feeling nostalgic for Jason ever since we were looking at the other two Jasons from the Ultimate line. In fact, we'll put 6 right there. I guess we should put 6 here in proper sequence. We'll bring in the just recently looked at Part 4. And prior to that, the Ultimate Part 3. Each one of them brings something slightly different to the table. The notable thing about Part 6 is this is the only time we ever got a Part 6 Jason. If you don't technically count the retro cloth, which of course is its own thing altogether. But strictly speaking, from 7-inch plastic figures, this is the only time we've gotten a Part 6 Jason from NECA Toys. Now obviously you will, being a Jason fan, will notice Part 3, Part 4, right there. We'll just kind of move them over a little bit, and we'll move Part 6 over. Why are you making a big gap right there? Making a gap because hopefully, as I put two slices of bread together, and somebody once said, put 2 slices of bread together and make a wish. It's a wish sandwich. I would wish with my wish sandwich that we eventually get ourselves an Ultimate Part 5 Roy. That would be so good. We do have a Part 5 Roy, technically, of course, with the retro cloth versions. But people that are more towards the action figure line so desperately need a Part 5 Roy right there. Wish sandwich right there. But those are the 3 Ultimate Jasons that we've gotten so far. I guess we should really get still maybe a Pamela Voorhees with a little baby small child Jason, which we did get again in the retro cloth line, and a sack Jason, which we did technically get in the retro cloth line and the original Cult Classics line. But a Pamela, young Jason, sack Jason, 3, 4, Roy, 6, and then hopefully all the figures after that. But those are your 3 Jason figures. If you want to watch the independent individual reviews of those, I've already got those posted on the channel. Let's have a look at Jason from Part 6. I will admit, one of the less stellar designs for Jason. I really didn't like this particular design of Jason, but I will say this. He has a look to him that breaks up the looks of all the other Jasons. 3 and 4 look so similar. Then you've got 6, which to me just, I don't know why, reminds me of like evergreen scented car air freshener. I don't know why I think that when I look at this Jason. He has such a different look to him that then 7 and 8 kind of have those subtle, more toned down colors to him. Yeah, Part 6 has a drastic look to him. Not one of my favorites, I will admit, but Part 6 is one of my favorite Jason Voorhees movies because I really like the incorporating of the camp counselors, the young children. I think just it had a fun feel. It was like the MTV version of Jason. It was the equivalent of the Dream Master for the Nightmare on Elm Street films. It just had a very different feel to it that I like Part 6 a lot. Still don't like the design of Jason, granted. I think it's probably, I have to say, 2 things. It's the head, which again just kind of reminds me of he's made out of like evergreen, and it's the utility belt. Now initially I would think utility belt, why would he make such efforts to get a utility belt? Does he really care? But I guess if he is killing people and, here is a belt that has everything on it that he would need, I guess that would make sense that he would carry it around. But between that and the garden gloves, not a very silly looking Jason. Here is his mask, which has an egg shape to it. It should have been, and I guess I could try to heat this up, it should have actually had a more circular shape to it rather than an oval egg shape. That's one of the things about the Part 6 Jason, is that he has one of the more rounder masks. It and Part 8 have some of the roundest masks. If you want to look at round masks, is one of the more rounder masks of the Friday films. The coloring also could have been a little bit darker. It's kind of, he has more of a tan color in the movie, but I think the mask looks pretty good. And I like that the eye holes, you can't see the eyes. It's a solid piece of plastic. They painted in the dark areas of the mask so you can't see his eyes. One of the cooler things about Part 6 Jason. Let's go ahead and take his mask off. I might also add that the mask sits relatively loose on Jason, and I had part of the strap right at the top here break off. Well, it didn't break off. They're pegged in, but the peg, it just unpegged itself, and I couldn't get the strap part back in, so I've since glued it. Not that you would notice it unless I told you that, but I have since glued it in. Now, I don't know where Tommy Jarvis would have had this particular mask. I mean, again, for the events of Part 6, we just carry around this mask, because the mask does look slightly different. He just decides, hey, I want to impale and stab Jason and make sure he's dead forever. I'm going to bring a mask with me. I don't know why you would have brought a mask, but there's Jason's face. It's a train wreck. I will admit. My least favorite. No, that's not true. Part 8 was a really bad face sculpt as well. But this is right up there. That's like borderline Swamp Thing, Moss Man sort of thing going on there. I get that he's supposed to look like a mummified corpse, but somehow by painting it slightly green, it resonates more so from like a Swamp Thing than it does Jason. I will give props to the fact that they sculpted in like bone, like the bone lower portion of the jaw. I think that's kind of neat, as well as the bone that you can see from the top areas of his eye. Now, you really don't see much of this in the actual movie. In the movie, he's sitting down in the grave. I'm depicting this very badly. He's sitting in the grave, and he opens his eyes, but he's got like maggots and stuff all over his face that you really don't see his face. He crawls out, and because it's rain and it's dark, you really don't see a lot of this. And again, it's an interesting look. It's grown over the area with the machete, but you can still see slight indication where the cut would have been, and the big gash from the axe is still there as well. But there's his face. Again, his body is very similar to the other Jasons. I guess the closest one being Part 4 Jason by sequence. Somehow he got a much vibrant, more green colored shirt than the dirtied shirt. I mean, he's been buried, and yet somehow his shirt is more pristine. But again, there's the body's like from the legs down. It's basically the exact same figure. The torso, I guess, really to that regard is also the exact same, other than the fact that they sculpted in the utility belt. Let's talk that utility belt. He's got some little like darts. I think they were like throwing darts or like little throwing blades. He's got a holster on the side for his knife, and he's got a holster on the side for his machete. There's the back of it right there as well. Sculpting is great. No complaints with the sculpt. No real complaints actually with the head sculpt either. Just because I don't like the head sculpt doesn't mean it's a poor sculpt. It's a good sculpt, just on a design I don't like. Again, the gloves. Why? Yes, that's, I guess, the one thing. If Jason was going to be grabbing a utility belt, it holds weapons. Why he needs gloves? Your guess is as good as mine. I guess just to keep his hands together. Maybe his hands are just falling apart. Who knows? Who really knows? There's the bottom of his feet. You can see how they've shredded like the bottom of his legging, his bottom of his legs, his pants, which actually is not like that on Part 4. They sculpted that in, which is nice. I like that. Again, don't really like the face sculpt. Let's just go ahead and put the hockey mask back on. Before we do that, though, the hockey mask really should have been, and I can't really do this, I don't want to damage the mask, but should actually be a wider mask. It shouldn't be narrow like this. Despite that, though, we'll go ahead and put the mask back on his head. And let's have a look at Jason's accessories. Get him to properly stand. First things first, he comes with his tombstone. begs the question, who would bury Jason and then on top of that put a tombstone in? But apparently there was a planned scene that Jason's dad played some pivotal role in burying Jason and kind of coming back and seeing the grave site and everything else like that. Cut out. We never really saw Jason's dad up to the comic release.